Artificial Intelligence Act. The floor is yours.
In italiano, se loro sono un po' anche stranieri. Come facciamo? Avevamo detto che era in inglese. No. Come facciamo? No, c'è qualcuno che può fare un po'... Da traduttore? Sì. Così aiuti come facciamo? Consecutivo. Così ti è più facile anche. Vabbè, buongiorno, io parlerò in italiano, lei mi aiuta con la traduzione, così cerchiamo di interagire. Ringrazio innanzitutto i promotori per lo sviluppo e l'uso di questa innovativa tecnologia.
Nowadays topics are extremely relevant, and that is why as Euro Parliament we started the basis for an European Parliament in the field of digital strategy. We started the basis for our regulatory on artificial intelligence in order to better create better conditions to the use of these such innovative mechanism.
L'approccio dell'Unione Europea, pensato in materia di intelligenza artificiale, è incentrato sull'eccellenza e sulla fiducia, con l'obiettivo di rafforzare la ricerca e la capacità industriale, garantendo nel contempo sicurezza e diritti fondamentali.
The European Union approach regarding artificial intelligence is focused on excellency and trust, with the aim of strengthening the research and industrial capacity in order to create security and protect human rights.
I cittadini e le imprese devono pertanto poter beneficiare dei vantaggi dell'intelligenza artificiale, sentendosi nel contempo sicuri e protetti in tutti gli ambiti di applicazione che svariano dall'assistenza sanitaria ai trasporti, all'energia, alla sicurezza nazionale ed internazionale.
Both citizens and industrial should benefit from the pros of artificial intelligence, feeling safe and protected in all fields regarding the application of also sanitary assistance and energy for this national and international security.
Massimizzare le risorse e coordinare gli investimenti in una componente fondamentale per garantire l'eccellenza in cui l'Unione Europea deve dotarsi. Per questa ragione, attraverso i programmi Orizzonte Europea ed Europa Digitale, abbiamo previsto come Parlamento di investire 1 miliardo di euro all'anno in intelligenza artificiale, che si aggiungeranno agli ulteriori investimenti del settore privato e degli Stati membri, al fine di raggiungere un volume di investimenti di 20 miliardi di euro nel corso del prossimo decennio.
Maximization of resources and coordination of investments is one of the key aspects to guarantee excellence in the European Union. For this reason, through two main projects named Orizzonte Europa and Europa Digitale, there are almost 1 billion euro each year invested in artificial intelligence. They are going to add up to the original funds that were already used in order to arrive to an annual 20 billion euro investments in the next 10 years.
Dal punto di vista legislativo, durante l'assemblea plenaria del Parlamento dello scorso giugno abbiamo adottato un testo condiviso sulla scorta del quale sono partiti i primi negoziati con i governi dell'Unione Europea per pervenire ad un testo unico definitivo.
So from the legislative point of view, during the last assembly in June, as the Parliament, we adopted a shared document, a shared doc, regarding the between all parties, along with the EU government.
La priorità per il Parlamento europeo è quello di assicurare che i sistemi di intelligenza artificiale utilizzati all'interno dell'Unione siano sicuri, trasparenti, tracciabili e non discriminatori e rispettosi dell'ambiente, che dovrebbero essere supervisionati da persone anziché da automazione, per evitare conseguenze possibilmente dannose.
So, the European Union Parliament priority is the one to make sure that the artificial intelligence systems used within the European Union are safe, transparent, clear, unbiased, and respectful of the environment, and should be supervised from people and not from bots or machines, in order to avoid some consequences.
L'obiettivo della cornice normativa è che il potenziale creativo e produttivo dell'intelligenza artificiale venga sfruttato pienamente e sappia contrastare i pericoli per la democrazia e la libertà che potrebbero derivare da un uso improprio della tecnologia.
The framework normative aim is the one to create artificial intelligence systems that can be used in the best way possible in order to stop and contrast the dangers for democracy and freedom that could derive from an inappropriate use.
Per questo motivo vogliamo che la legge europea sull'intelligenza artificiale rappresenti un punto di riferimento a livello mondiale per lo sviluppo e la governance, assicurando che questa tecnologia, destinata a trasformare radicalmente le nostre società, grazie agli enormi benefici che potrà offrire, si evolva e venga utilizzata nel rispetto dei valori europei, della democrazia, dei diritti fondamentali e dello Stato di diritto. L'obiettivo è quello di raggiungere un accordo entro la fine di quest'anno.
For this reason, we want the European Union legislation regarding artificial intelligence to be a key point on a global level, in order to make sure that for governance and development there could be the best way possible. We want this legislation to evolve so that it could be used respecting European Union values for democracy and for human rights and Stato di diritto rights.
Con questo finito, grazie per l'attenzione e grazie a lei per la traduzione.
Abbiamo rimediato con Grazie mille. Grazie. Mi saluti forte?
Ragazzi, scusate un attimo, avete tranquillamente tempo 15 minuti per respirare alto, perché poi noi vi distruggeremo, quindi è bene anzi che vi caricate. Ah, e allora ritiro tutto, non riposatevi, si lavora subito. Allora, mentre i nostri ospiti si vanno a sedere nei vari posti, tutti quanti, io voglio aggiungervi una cosa. Sorry, we start now, because we are a little bit short in time.
I go further.
You go also. Let's say you have 5 minutes to go with, if possible.
Quante sedie c'hai? Quante persone c'hai?
Massimo Comparini si linka all'esterno.
Guarda che
Andati a
alle
far
5 e
più.
mezza le cacciano.
Si attaccano. Si attaccano, io c'ho un'ora e mezza e prima non
Dai,
voglio.
dai, cerca di partire e di essere veloce.
Gli ho dato 5 minuti, stanno a morire questi. Giorgio, ci fate avere rapidamente là. Ah, ecco, sta arrivando. Can you please call all the other people if they can come in? Grazie. Scusami però, Roberto, aspetta. La prossima volta non lo farò mai più. No, ma il problema è che questa è un'ora e mezza, in un'ora non si può fare.
Chiudo io perché dopo c'è un altro evento, quindi...
Sì, allora un altro evento.
No. Prossima volta ti discuto. Qui oggi
Mai più. Okay, can we start? I'm sorry because we are very short. So 3 seconds for an information. Can we wait? Okay, let's go. 3 seconds for an information. We are starting, nothing to do with the festival and what you are following here, a master in space economy in coordination with Lewis Business School. So if some of you is potentially interested, we meet later over there and I can provide you some information on that, okay? Just starting in mid-November is the first year, but it will continue. Having said that, let's start with the meeting. We have plenty of guests, but unfortunately we have been shorted in time because people before us has gone long and they have another event. In this case, I will be even shorter. I will introduce the guests who are in the order. L'ingegner Dodaros, the first to your left, is the big boss of nuclear in Italy. He didn't want it, but he had. The second one is Fra Paolo. Fra Paolo is one expert. He's an engineer, ex-engineer, an expert in IA, and he's also an expert of the Vatican. And on purpose, I have invited him to provide us some hint of the ethical side of the problem of IA, okay? After that, I have Antonio Zoccoli. He's the president of the Institute of Nuclear Physics of Italy. So he is one of the most eminent physicists still alive. I don't know for how long he will be alive, but for the moment he is. And so he is taking care of all the activity on research and innovation and technology of INFN. Bertrand is our star guest. He comes from France. He has been one of the persons who have started somehow into IA in France. So we will be very glad to hear from him a little bit the story of our friends on the other side of the Alps. Don't forget, they are really very upset and very low in psychology because they hoped to gain the World Cup in rugby, but unfortunately they lost 1 week ago. And so we have to see that on this Saturday, the final one is between two equipes of the south of the world. And finally, our friend Colonel is representing what the Italian Air Force is producing and acting on this item. Because of the time, we try to go very fast, so forgive us for that. But they have signed an agreement with me. They have a problem. They are all friends. So I'm playing, I have some power on them. So every kind of question and so on, let's go after the end of this meeting. You are completely welcome, okay?
Okay, thank you. I prepared some slide, but talking about artificial intelligence, maybe some conventional more for me because it was in Italian. So I will talk just without slides. What is artificial intelligence? It's something that can help using learning system, machine that can learn from the experience, and that can help really much in the field of nuclear in general, and particularly in nuclear energy, because if you want to manage safely a nuclear power plant, you can use learning algorithms and machine to manage the power plant in a way more safe. Let's make just an example. When you have a critical situation in a plant, the operator has to take important decision in a very short time. So we need to analyze all the possible behavior of the accident, of the eventual accident, and try to choose the best way to work and to proceed. IA can give this help mainly if we succeed in let the machine learn all the procedures, all the things going on during an accident, so they can help and give the possible behavior in a very short time, making the operator able to understand and to intervene. And just another example of what AI can do in the nuclear field is the reconstruction, the three-dimensional reconstruction of the internals of a nuclear power plant or a research system and so on. Because in that case, you have a very harsh environment, high level of radiation and so on. So the operator cannot come in and look what is happening. In that case, if you make measurements, take pictures, and you can be able to reconstruct the real three-dimensional structure within a system, so not real but virtual reality, you can look at and intervene when needed, also in an environment that cannot be touched by human being. These are just two examples, but what we need to go on, we need to make many applications of these, have to use the system for years in order to let the system learn and prepare themselves to be more human than possible and more fast than human. So this is just a hint. Thank you.
The little square over there is Engineer Comparini. He is the CEO of Thales Alenia Space. Massimo, the floor is yours. No more than 7 minutes, unfortunately.
Mi sentite? Mi sentite, Enzo? Ezio, mi sentite?
Sei bellissimo e ti sentiamo molto bene.
Okay, good afternoon, and really, I will be shorter than that. I'll give you a couple of minutes of margin, Ezio. Good afternoon, and really sorry that I cannot be physically with you, but I discussed with Professor Bussoletti that I want to take the chance to give a kind of snapshot of what's happening in the field of the artificial intelligence and space. You know, space is becoming more and more popular compared to what happened a few years ago. In every magazine, now we have discussion and debate about the space economy. And this is really across a number of different domains: Earth observation, so our capability to observe the Earth from space, exploration, navigation, and of course, connection of hyperconnection. And we have in the last few years, we observe a quite fast and deep evolution of the space infrastructure. It's a fact that we have more and more digital architectures in flight. We have power computing capacity that grew up quite fast, and it opens the way for new architectures and also for new actions through advanced algorithms, as well as to have more and more, let's say, cognitive, if not intelligent, spacecraft. So today, the power capacity, the high power capacity, computing capacity that we have on board is such that we can plan to have a number of operations that traditionally we were used to do on ground. Just an example, post-processing of optical as well as radar images done directly in flight. The capability to have satellite talking each other through inter-satellite link open the way for architectures for cloud in space, edge computing in space, storage in space. So the paradigm of constellation, of mega constellation, it's clearly a trend, and a lot of new functionality are through advanced algorithms and through AI-based architectures. This is a dimension. Another dimension that I really briefly touch is how fast we can process the space big data. If we see the evolution of Earth observation systems in the coming years, we can see that we will have a kind of exponential growth. At the same time, in the last 5 years, we observe an exponential growth in the use of the geospatial data. In Europe, we have a flagship program like Copernicus, built through the so-called sentinels, so a number of sensors that generate petabytes and petabytes to be processed. And to be honest, until a few years ago, the large majority of those data, extremely important data for the sustainability of the planet, to understand what is the evolution of the planet, and just an example, how counteract global trends like the climate change. To be honest, the vast majority of those data were sleeping with a controlled temperature in the data centers. So AI-based processing is helping to extract the information from this huge amount of big data, which is part of the journey, for instance, to build a sustainable planet. So the use of AI approach on the data when they are on Earth is extremely important. A third dimension that maybe is more inspirational, and I'm really glad that Paolo Benanti is with you, and I'm sure that he can comment as well. It's linked to the exploration. We have a buzz. We are going back to the moon. New child and the young generation, they are the Artemis generation, not the Apollo generation. The Apollo generation was in the 60s. The first, let's say, challenge of the man on the moon. Now the program is called Artemis, and we're not back to the moon just to repeat what we have done more than 50 years ago. Most likely in 2026, we are on the planet to learn how to live for a longer duration on the planet, how to work on the planet, and why not, in a kind of endless inspiration to discover, if we can start from the moon for other destinations. Everyone that assist or was lucky enough to assist a launch from a launch pad from Cape Kennedy or from Kourou easily realized the huge amount of energy that we need to use to win the Earth gravity. So imagine with the same technologies where we can go starting from the moon. But it would be not an easy journey. It's an hostile environment. We cannot stay alone. The radiation and how to be protected by the radiation is important. And we're going to see in the coming years, already this is the case, for instance, for Mars, a number of robotics machines. So robotic exploration is, together with the human exploration, the next frontiers. And I really believe that that will be a kind of perfect lab how to study the cooperation between the man and the machine, the man and the robot. Because very easily, looking to the end of the decade, we will have cases where the astronauts or the few space pioneers that we have on the planet, they cannot rely on the loop with the control center on Earth. So they should be helped and supported in the decision to take, maybe to save a life, with a machine, an intelligent machine. So AI and the man will cooperate in that case for the purpose of the exploration. So in my very brief snapshot, I touch 3 points. I mean, how to take the best benefit of huge amount of data that we generate from space, how in the future and already today we're thinking more and more intelligent space machine, space infrastructure, satellite and constellation, and how look into the exploration, really the cooperation between the man and the machine would be mostly a hub of cooperation between AI or cognitive machine with the man. Very last topic that I want to touch, AI-driven techniques are extremely important also for next generation manufacturing of a space asset. Think about mega constellation. If we are going to produce hundreds of satellites in a short time, the capability to understand, to digest all the huge amount of data that the production chain will generate is extremely important, and that cannot be done without an AI assist, let's say, digital hub. So I will limit myself here. Let's say the big points that I like to stress about AI and space.
Adesso funziona, grazie. Ho un grosso supporto tecnico da parte delle ragazze, per fortuna. Thank you very much, Massimo. Let's go to our new guest, the star guest, which is a good friend from France coming here.
So, yeah, this is working. Hey, thank you. Let me just comment on what has been said by our colleague. This question of man-machine, of human-machine interaction is extremely important, and it's a difficult one. It's very important that machines, robots, and AI systems understand what we humans expect from them. And this is generally called the alignment problem. You maybe have heard about the alignment question or the super alignment problem with superintelligence. We are not there yet. And on the other hand, it's also very important for us humans to understand what is going on inside the AI system. So this is a question of transparency, questions of explainability, etc. So I just wanted to emphasize this, and it's true for space, but it's also true in many other domains, such as medicine, such as transportation, etc. Okay, I want to take a short historical perspective, because from the very beginning of AI, there has been really some kind of debate between the two flavors of AI, two kinds of AI. AI systems developed by man. So you enter your knowledge about the world, about the system, in the forms of logic, in the form of rules, in the part of knowledge. And then you take some input, you use the model, and you produce some output. This is the human-made AI, let's say, and it was popular at some point in time. And then the other way, the second option is machine learning. So you have the data, and you learn the model from the data, and then from it you can also provide recommendations, decisions, etc. This is all the machine learning community. At the moment, of course, most of AI is made of machine learning, but this has not always been the case. In the beginnings of AI in the 60s, the neural networks were very popular and machine learning was really put into use. And then came the first winter of artificial intelligence, when it was proven that at that time, with the technology available, neural networks could not model nonlinear behavior, nonlinear phenomena. And so that was the first winter of artificial intelligence, end of the 60s. And then people moved to this other way of doing AI by putting rules, putting knowledge in the system, such as developing what they called knowledge-based systems, expert systems. This grew a lot. And then people realized that it was also very complicated, very difficult to maintain the knowledge base, very difficult to have some consistency. And so the second winter of AI was the winter of the second form of AI, of knowledge-based systems and expert systems, let's say in the late 80s, in the 90s. From 2000 and on, there was a big change because of the web. The web, available for everyone, was also a source of a lot of data, a lot of available information, a lot of economic interest. So the economic interest, of course, of doing applications on the web are very important, a lot of social aspects. And so with the advent of the web, let's say 20 or 25 years ago, people started to once more use the algorithms developed before to develop new kinds of AI for the web, for these applications. And this is how AI became very important in our century. If you look at who are the big players in AI, they are the web operators, Meta, Google, Baidu, Amazon, etc., etc. Because they have the web, they have the data. And so we are now in this big phase of AI, which is based on machine learning since more or less 20, 25 years now. So there has been already 2 winters. I'm not saying that now is a forever summer. There might be some other winters in the future. We will talk about it a bit later. One very important aspect of these 2 kinds of AI is that human-made AI, rules, logic, formula, ontologies, knowledge bases, etc. They cost a lot, but we make them so we know how they behave. We can ask for explanations, we can understand how the system reaches a conclusion because we made the system. On the other hand, as I said, it's complex and limited, etc. If you look at machine learning systems, especially neural networks, database AI, they cost less in terms of manpower, because you take data, you take a supercomputer, a good algorithm, and then you have an AI system. But we don't really understand what is inside. You can open the box, you can look at what is inside, you can look at all the parameters, but you don't understand how the system behaves. It's too complicated. For example, I'm having a discussion with my bank, the chatbot of my bank. Dear chatbot, maybe this has a name, never mind. Has my loan been accepted? And the chatbot says, no. But please, can you tell me why my loan has not been accepted? No. And why can't you tell me why my loan has not been accepted? Because I'm an artificial intelligence system trained with millions of data and I cannot produce explanations. Wow. Well, but at least can you prove that your decision is the correct one? No, it's impossible to prove decisions made by systems built by learning from millions of data. Oh, but is there any certification body that has given you a certificate so that you can show that you are an established entity that I can trust? No, at the moment there is no certification for all kind of systems. So behind this, of course, you understand that there's a question of trust. If these systems are not able to be proven, are not able to provide explanations, are not able to be certified, people like you, who are working on critical applications where there is life at risk, where there is huge economical impact, where there's environmental impact, we say, excuse me, but you can use your AI system for recommending you the next movie to watch on YouTube, but not for my critical application because I don't trust it. So I stop here, and maybe we talk about that in more detail later.
Andiamo al penultimo giro del primo giro. Colonnello, a lei, Italian Army.
Italian Air Force, yes. I'm Colonel Claudio Castellano. I'm from the Italian Air Force, and I work in the Logistic Command. I have a small presentation. This is the time to present, correct? I can present the presentation? Yes. So I ask to start just 7 slides. I have a very narrow topic, just to present a very basic application of artificial intelligence in our surveillance and reconnaissance functions of our airborne platform. And especially during this event, next. The agenda is just to present the strategy of the Ministry of Defense on artificial intelligence, on the implementation on artificial intelligence, the development in the Air Force of some applications concerned with artificial intelligence, one case study, very easy case study, and some comments. First of all, the Ministry of Defense, the Italian Ministry of Defense, published in 2023, with this year, a very brief strategy on the implementation. Most of this document talks about foster the knowledge, so to form personnel on knowing about artificial intelligence and building up awareness and confidence on this new topic. Define a governance model in order to coordinate with all the armed forces the projects, most research and development project and experimentation project, and then determine the priorities. First of all, now we jump on the Air Force. As far as the Air Force is concerned, we plan 3 main projects to start experimentation. I want to be clear. First, to do it in a proper way, first of all, we need to define a concept of operation, and in order to give it to the industry and then develop a real tool that works. So Air Force personnel started experimenting ways to improve what we do every day, but in a better way. That's why I will present just a brief case, but in order, what we will get financed by the Ministry of Defense are those 3 projects that they should help weather prediction, weather forecasts, and also forecasting malfunctions on airborne platform and so on, and also to manage the fleet. We're talking about the whole fleet of different aircrafts. And finally, to improve experimentation innovation labs. We have a lab in Pratica di Mare experimental unit, and so to foster the activity of this unit. Today, but I will concentrate only on a small application, which is advanced reconnaissance and exploitation system. And it's just a proof of concept. So it's a demonstration that we use to demonstrate that the concept that we want to develop is correct. And in this case, our intent is to improve the capability of analysis, have a more efficient human resource usage, and then consent our analysts to do better analysis on more footage, so more movies to analyze, and then help protecting high visibility event, high value event, like meetings, important high level meeting. And of course, we know there are several opportunities of artificial intelligence, and there are several applications, even off the shelf, already available on the market, but we have some, and I will talk about it later, some risks. In fact, some challenges. The first of all is regarding data ownership. Many armed forces cannot accept to share the data we use with other companies outside of the Ministry of Defense. So this is a big challenge. The other is regarding classified data, of course. Everything that uses classified data has to be certified, has to be authorized. And then we need to train the system. So we need to make it gradually learn. This is a length process. And then, even if it's a time-consuming process, it's a rewarding process, and you will see now with these short movies. If I can ask to click the first one, it's on the left. Bisogna andare sul cursore, sul display e cliccare il cursore. Anyway, exactly. This is artificial intelligence is analyzing the image and is trying to recognize the vehicle. At the beginning of the learning phase, he is not sure. In fact, you see very low value, zero dot low numbers. Then in the second phase, by learning, the system becomes more efficient in understanding the difference between a truck, a car, a pickup, and so on. So if we start the next movie on video. So now, as you see, the percentage is 0.9, so he is almost sure, it's almost 1. So he's sure of what he's seeing. This is just the beginning of the experimentation. Then the unit elaborated, let's say, an operational tool, which is this one. Se possiamo cliccare. So now it's more complicated. The system is counting individuals, car, excavator, pickups, and trucks, and monitors on the time what's happening. And you can record and helps the analysts take track of everything that is happening. So this helps a lot the person that needs to decide what is happening, what is the next action, and so on. So he can concentrate maybe on 2 or 3 different screens at the same time and get help by the system in understanding the situation. And see, the cameras are not tricked by shadows, for example, or other things on the image. So this was just a very short presentation in order to see how sometimes it's very easy to use artificial intelligence, and in this case is mostly help personnel that perform recognition, reconnaissance, and analysis to do their work better. This is the end of the presentation. Thank you very much.
So you have seen that everyone will just checked and controlled as soon as you get out from here. Because of him, thanks. Before giving the floor to the last two for the first tour, we have a question. How used, if any or not, you are concerning artificial intelligence? Are you using a ChatGPT? You use more? You just discovered AI? You use ChatGPT to produce beer or alcohol or whatsoever? Or what? Let me see. How many of you are aware of artificial intelligence? The majority. Even those who are reading their telephone now. Okay, this is good. Have you ever used artificial intelligence? How many? Wow. But did you tell it to my friend, your teacher at the university? Or is this, does he use it for you?
No, actually, there was a problem with universities, where found some people to use ChatGPT and it had kind of a problem. Also because you cannot recognize whether artificial intelligence.
Ripeti tutto dall'inizio, grazie.
Hello. So actually there was a problem in Tor Vergata University in which like some students use ChatGPT in order to
overcome
to cheat,
the duties.
let's say cheat like in the exams, but like you are never 100% sure if there was artificial intelligence work or not. Also because yes, there are detectors of course, but like sometimes it happened that the detectors were completely wrong and that work was made entirely by the students. So there was this kind of issue with ChatGPT.
Okay. Any other? Yes, please.
But at the same time, we had a project where we had to use, we were invited to use ChatGPT in order to write a paper, to find a way to incorporate this new tool, because at the end of the day, artificial intelligence is a tool that we don't know how to manage yet, so that it's good that we wait until it's properly regulated, especially in the academics field. But at the same time, it is interesting how we were asked to find a way to incorporate that because it's our future.
And if it's possible to write your thesis too, yes, I know. What else?
Hi, I just wanted to say that in terms of generative AI, probably we kind of can decide whether to use it or not. We use ChatGPT or maybe generative AI in terms of images. But for how much we are familiar with AI, I think that everybody in this room has been either an object or a target of AI or has come in contact with it in some way. Because actually, I think also how softwares of AI analyze the data or the pictures that it's taken from the surveillance kind of involves us as well. So also in indirect ways, I think that willing or not willing, we all in this room are involved in it.
And by knowing how you are perfect as a student, is my friend Gustavo Piga well used to ChatGPT or not? Which is your evaluation? I'll never tell it to him. Siete una manica di perfidi.
Gustavo Piga, no.
Okay, thank you very much and good afternoon. So, I think that before starting my intervention, I would make some remarks. Clearly, it's called artificial intelligence, but it doesn't understand what they are doing. So usually, when you use generative AI, is just selecting the most probable word one after the other one, but it doesn't understand the meaning of the sentence or the meaning of the text it is creating. So, given that I am a scientist, I am working on big question, so how the universe was born, how is evolving, what is the matter? What are the fundamental laws of the universe and the matter? What is governing the nature? So one of the question we ask ourselves, how can we exploit artificial intelligence in order to make our world? And clearly, we cannot use generative AI to answer this question. How it is evolving the universe, we are not yet ready to use artificial intelligence, I think. Okay, of course. We can use a holy, but we cannot use for that. But you can exploit artificial intelligence in order to help us in our work. For example, we are using accelerators in order to accelerate protons, to make them collide, and to understand from the collision, from the particle coming out from the collision, some fundamental property of the matter. And the problem is that this collision has plenty of particles which are not interesting at all, which is a kind of background in our events. And it's very difficult to disentangle with some algorithm which are the interesting particle and which are the one we have to discard. So what artificial intelligence can do for us, and we are not developing artificial intelligence, but we are exploiting machine learning and artificial intelligence, is exactly this one. We train, based on our experience, the algorithm of artificial intelligence, and we use them in order to select the interesting event and to discard the one which are not interesting. So it's easy to say that, but it's quite complicated software development. So again, we don't use something which is already provided by some software house, but we do by ourselves. We use programming and we develop the algorithm, we train the algorithm, and we use it. So this is an example. But then we have to face some problem. So the first one was already mentioned, is I get a result, so I have to explain why I got this result. So is it reliable or is there a mistake? So what are the possible mistakes? That first of all, I didn't train the algorithm in a proper way. We use many events, but we may add some artificial bias in these events. And then the result of the analysis is biased, and this is not the one we want. So we are spending a lot of time in order to cross-check what we did and if the result is explainable and if the result is trustable or not. So this is one of the problems we have to face in this kind of analysis, because we don't, why? Because we don't have the answer a priori. It's the first time we answer some question, and if we don't know if the answer is correct or not. If you are going back and you look at I think one of the most famous examples for using artificial intelligence, so is recognize the images. So then it's clear that you train the images, you know what is a truck, you know what is a car, you know what is a man, and so you may train better the algorithm. But in case where you don't know what are the objects and you see them for the first time, this can become a problem. And then we developed this algorithm and we recognize that this algorithm may be used in completely different fields. For example, the problem to have a better understanding of your collision is just a kind to recognize an images. Again, similar to the previous one, most complicated, very particular feature. But then exactly the same problem is the one to recognize the images for medicine. If you make tomography, then you produce images and you want to understand if there is something there or not. If what you see is a real images or there is some background, some noise from the instrument. And then we started to apply the algorithm of artificial intelligence to medicine. And it is really powerful. In some cases, it's working much better from the eye of the medicians. But again, you have to be sure, You cannot have a result and say, look, you have an illness, you have to cure for something, but you need to be sure for that. So again, you need to explain the result. And then we started to work in this field. And we faced another problem, is that the use of this data, the use of this result, have some ethical implication, because these data are of a patient, and there is a privacy problem, and there is a problem on the exploitation of the result that we are obtaining from this algorithm. And this is again another problem that society must face now. So when we are using artificial intelligence, then if you go deep inside, then you are facing new problems, and the society at the moment is not completely ready to answer and to solve this problem. So ethics is one of the most critical problems we will have to face in the future. And it's not regarding only medical data, but it's also regarding the data from web, the privacy, how to use the data I collect from web, and which is the use for the result of the algorithm. And these are two examples, but I would like just to conclude by making the last remark, is how what I need to develop an algorithm of artificial intelligence. If you use your algorithm, maybe you have on your mobile, but this algorithm are already trained. So the problem is, how may I train my algorithm? And to do that, if the problem is complicated and I need to train a lot, with a lot of images, with a lot of data, my algorithm, I need a huge computing power. And this is one of the problem which is not very well known from the experts, from the people which are working on artificial intelligence, which was also quoted by the person which was speaking about Camparini, which was speaking about space, the problem to have big computing center, big computer in order to analyze the data, in order to train the algorithm of artificial intelligence. Without big computers, you cannot develop effective algorithm. So this is one other topic where we are working in order to face the challenges of the next year, both in particle physics or in medicine or in other fields. Thank you.
Fra Paolo, tocca a te. What I'm saying that just watching you from this side, I see that some of you are already just trying to train their telephones, because there are plenty of people just playing with the telephone while we are talking together. I hope that at least you get some results, technically speaking. Paolo,
thank you very much. Well, what is the position of an ethicist about AI? But first of all, let me make a couple of examples about what we heard before. Do you know what is the major use of ChatGPT in society today? You have no idea? Trivial. You need a shrink, yeah? No, it's asking to ChatGPT what is the best start chatting in Tinder with someone else. Well, someone already found some funny way to use the system that we never talk about.
He's an expert because he does it exactly the same.
You know, I confess, I hear a lot of things. Sorry, I'm joking. The second thing was about the quality of data. It's interesting that if you look at C4, one of the Google database for training a machine system, it's interesting that you can decode the source of that system. Well, I cannot resist to tell that because there is too many aeronautic, space, and astrophysics. You know, if you look at the source inside C4, there are more than 50 million of web sources. If you ask where is the CIA as a web source of the C4, it's about 7,880 place in the list. Not bad, 50 million, it's not bad. If you ask where is NASA, it's 6,032, something like that. Vatican, 4,000. So if you ask to C4 how to go to the sky, it's asking to the Vatican, not to the NASA. So that's interesting, because what is used to make this large language model is not the content, but is the statistical quality of the sequence of the words. And coming back to the question that was before me, this is important because it's a different epistemology data. And this jumping in epistemology produces tools that we are not fully aware how it works. But now, how can I explain what does it mean ethics in AI? Let me explain with the same example that my professor did to me when I started my PhD in ethics of AI. I was part of a 10 members class of a PhD. We was in United States, Washington, Georgetown, and my professor came and said, to start ethics of technology, we have to go on the field. And he bring us to Manhattan, New York. We were so excited, we are going to Manhattan. And he bring us to see an highway. And he asked to us, what do you see? Can you imagine, we was 10, we was young, we was men, everyone would like to be the best. We say everything. At the end of the day, the answer was concrete and asphalt. We was looking at an highway. Well, then he bring us on a public library. And in the public library, there was 10 copies of a huge 1,000-page book. That is one of the best 100 non-fictional book in US market, winner of a Pulitzer Prize. That is the life of a really famous politician in the New York State, that is Robert Moses. Well, Robert Moses was that one that simply built the skyline in Manhattan, a lot of infrastructure. The shape of the city that you can see now if you go to Manhattan is thanks to Robert Moses. Inside that book, we discover that Moses has a clear vision of society. The best part of the city has to be for the best part of population. It's really unacceptable now. We would like to be inclusive, but at that time was really common. And the best part of population in his own perspective was the white middle class. Well, the question of Moses was, how I can keep Johnson Beach in Long Island, where the highway is going, just for the white middle class? And the answer was through technological innovation. He didn't build any public transportation system, and the bridge, the concrete bridge that we saw over the highway, that I can assure you, they look like every other bridge, are actually 2 feet lower than the standard, 60 centimeters. No public bus can commute. At the end of the day, the lecture was, every technological artifact is a displacement of power, is a form of order. Now, the problem is not anymore concrete and asphalt, but the algorithm that are behind the human side and the machine has the same function of the bridge and the concrete. Probably you remember the pandemic, and you remember that you got through a vaccination process. Well, vaccination was given to you thanks to a constitutional right, that is the right to health. But the order in which you can get the vaccination was given by an algorithm embedded in a web portal on internet. So ethics of technology has just one duty, putting the right question to the right stakeholder, to allow a political organization and a political answer to the innovation process. Now it's made by algorithms that work on data, like we heard, that make some kind of systematic choices due to the correlation that is behind the algorithm, and these systematic choices are called bias. Don't be fooled, bias is not a negative. If we have a car, we would like to have the systematic choices that the car does not kill anyone that is walking on the street. But if you are hiring someone, you don't want to have the systematic choices to hire only a man, white and rich. Or if you are a bank, you don't want to have a bias that deny that kind of money to someone that can make you rich, or it's another problem of justice. Probably you heard already that this is a problem connected to the quality of data. And this is true, partially, but it's not the only true, ethical truth in this perspective. Because there is another element, you know? And the other element, and this is matter also of ethics of AI, is the supply chain, about giving that algorithm, that function in that deployment. Because you heard by, I forget the grade, by the colonel. I make my military service in the aeronautics, but was a long time ago. I'm much more good with the ecclesiastical degree. Yeah, I was engineer, I was on the side. But, well, you heard that they train the algorithm feeding with images. Actually, when you take some of this AI feature, as the colleague from France can tell you, probably you are calling an API of someone else's algorithm on a server. Well, the problem is how these people train the algorithms. Supposing that I would like to make an image recognition software that is able to recognize cat, and I start to feed the algorithm with cat images. Cat, 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 dog. Cat, 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 not cat. 1, 0. At one point, I have a set of pictures that are, I don't know well. They look like cat, but they are not cat. They are pet of tiger, pet of felines. And I can say just 1 or 0. Are they cat or not cat? The way in which you label that data is a philosophical option on data that is called base truth. Is the level of confidence that you put on the data. So there is someone that labels data like truck, like car. What is this? Apecar is a car, is a truck, what is? So that level has to be declared and transparent. Because if I use that algorithm to develop, for example, an app, let me tell you, shooting a picture, if this pet is safe to touch. And I say the tiger is a cat. So this is a problem that the base truth behind a machine learning system now has not to be declared by any law. So is hidden inside the process. So ethics of technology is also pushing on stakeholders to have some kind of system, some kind of data sheets for data set that allow all the process to be aware of the limitation of the technical system. Well, ethics could be much more and much more question, but I think that my time is finished.
We have 14 minutes, so any question just probably is much better.
Hello, my name is Alessandro. I'm a GG2 student from Italy. My question is regarding the Italian Air Force. So we already see that lethal autonomous weapon systems are fielded in different countries and conflicts. There is the possibility, by the way, that some of these devices will be equipped with AI and they are capable to fire autonomously. Then, a United Nations report says that already happened in 2020 in Libya. So maybe isn't it too much?
The second part of the question about Libya, I didn't understand very well. Well, for sure, we don't have any autonomous, let's say, lethal weapon. This is for sure. This is a very contested field in international law to use such a system. So far, we are using only augmentation in our system, not in lethal, not in shooting, not in. I know Italy for sure has no such type. I know some countries they are using probably in Israel probably. Anytime you really need to do tough defending of a unit or something, you might decide something like that, but not in our country. And yes, it's always part of the rules of engagement that you receive from the political level, and we always have self-defense, and we always have to use the minimum necessary force in order to stop the lethal activity on us. So this prevents any type of hostile, lethal, autonomous weapons. I hope this is good enough.
I just want to make some provocation because we heard many things. I learned like a machine many things today, but I'm asking to myself, which is the difference between a machine based on AI and a man or a woman? Because we learn, we have experience, we grow, and our knowledge and conscience grew up. But it's the same the machine. Why we are better than a machine choosing to shoot or not, just an example, or choosing what is, maybe is the base true level of which Paolo talked, but are we really different from a machine based on AI?
Any answer to this question from the ground? Prima le donne. Please.
Hi, I wanted to thank the panelists for coming here today and educating us about the subject. But to answer your question, if I remember correctly, I read an article talking about the US drones. I don't know anything about EU drones, but the US drones have proportionately killed far more people than man-operated drones do. So this does show you that there is a certain impact on the level of destruction that is caused by the machinery used. Because at the end of the day, even though this machine, it may emulate the intelligence of a human being, it still does not have, let's say, the conscience of behaviors at war. You know, this is a machine. It doesn't comprehend the difference between shooting a random child or an enemy of war. All it understands is these are people involved in the war and I should shoot them. Pardon?
It's not so conscious. During the learning phase, is not conscious of this, but also we. If I am a young shooter at my first occasion in war, maybe I'm not able to take the decision, is a guy or is a man, is an enemy or not. So I think that we have to really look at this part in which we decide how to learn, to make the machine learn, because it's very similar on what we call ethic or ethical behavior. This is the real thing.
If the question becomes philosophical, I cannot resist to jump in. Well, first of all, thank you for the provocation. Actually, it's one of the big philosophical debate. We can say in a short term that the challenge is that every day the machine is becoming more human and the human is understanding himself as much as a machine, thanks to neuroscience and the comprehension of brain function. But the problem is, what is the difference between something that is functioning and someone that is living? If I project on the screen an hair dryer and a duck, they have the same shape. Can you see it? Well, if I shut down the hair dryer, I can shut it on again. If I shut down the duck, I cannot turn it on again. Well, there is a difference, and this is the difference that is connected to the Church-Turing problem, that say that every process that could be computed on different machine is equivalent. Now the hardware is different. The problem is that the machines are not the same. And the problem is the quality of the human process system, decision system, that is not based on data, that is much more analogous, and the conscience is something that is not something that works, but is connected to someone that exists. But at that point, I have to tell you something. I was involved in a high-level seminar for the UN, United Nations Disarmament Unit. And when you talk about autonomous weapon, you have to contextualize inside the military field. Because supposing that you have an unmanned surface-to-air missile station, do you have a problem if an unmanned and autonomous drone attack an unmanned and autonomous system with missile? In that context, no problem. Then there is someone that can tell you, I prefer to write a letter to the chief of the staff of my army, telling that I lose $100 million of arms or armament, than not write to one mother that the son will not come back to home. So the real question, and this is the ethics, the only answer is it depends. You cannot make it theoretical. You have to make it contextual. You say something about that, about the evaluation of the damages. And the problem is it saving life or killing life just matter of calculation? Welcome back to philosophy. The answer is really old. It's step back to Aristotle's, so it's not new. You are changing the tools, but the answer is the same. Well, just to finish, to say how deep is the provocation and how complex is the answer, there is a famous English philosopher, woman, the women are the best, that in the 75 give us an answer to that. The name was Philippa Foot. She teach at that time in Oxford, and she make a famous example. There is a trolley. The trolley is running on the railway, and there are 5 men that are working on the railway. You are aside of the railway, and you can pull something that put the trolley on a side track. On the side track, there is a man. What do you have to do? Well, everyone was ready to answer, minimize the damage. Minimize the damage is a good ethical principle. And so, I'm sorry for the 1, but 1 is less worse than 5. And we accepted this principle, and if you take a sky bridge, the train on the airport without driver, they are programmed with the Philippa Foot algorithms, minimize the damage. At one point, we start to develop an autonomous car. And the problem is that an autonomous car, the most sold car in more than 130,000 euro in European market is a Tesla with some autonomous feature. If we apply Philippa Foot rules, you and yours $130,000 and your car can decide to kill you, the owners of the car, instead of 2 unknown people on the street, maybe belonging to an ethnical minority. Will you give your money to Tesla? Well, your personal interest change the attitude to answer to this question. It's not a matter of autonomous weapon, it's a matter of self-interest. Well, this is another big question. Is it the value of the owners of the car bigger than the value of someone that is walking on the street? Welcome to the place of question. You are the generation that has to give the answer.
Okay. Well, Paolo, actually, in the case of the train, if it was full of politicians, no way to pull everyone. But this is another position. Okay, we stop here because we have to give, as we have a bit of time, let's go outside for those who want to continue to interact with our friends or get the information on the map. Just a second. Further information. Just a second. There is another information. As we have seen that you have liked quite a bit this kind of meeting, our friends of the French embassy has offered us in the second semester of next year to have a meeting like that with the same people, but larger in time. And